and to have been given the responsibility to create it. And so let me tell you all a little bit about alopecia and what it is, because today we will be talking about alopecia and we'll be talking about a few more things. But what is alopecia? Alopecia is an autoimmune disease. It's where your immune system attacks your hair follicle and causes your hair to fall out. Now, there are 6.8 million people in the US, 147 million people worldwide that have this disease. Now, it's not contagious, so you don't have to worry about standing next to us or being in the same room. You're not going to catch anything. But one thing that's interesting about alopecia is that it does not discriminate. What do I mean by that? Is that alopecia can happen to anyone, any age, any gender, or any race. Alopecia can just show up when it wants to, and it's just a roller coaster ride. And so I always like to give a little backdrop information about alopecia and how it affects people, but everybody has a story. And I don't take it lightly when my guests choose to say yes to come on our platform to share their story, because it takes a lot of courage. They're very transparent, and it's just an honor for anyone to share their story, because I always tell my guests that our story is not our story. Our story is for someone else. And so today I have the honor and the privilege to bring on with us as our special guest, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She's not only our guest today to have a conversation, but she happens to be featured on the front cover of Bald Life magazine with her inside story. There she is. She is. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
There she is. There she is. I'm so honored to have you here, and I don't take it lightly. I mean, you could be doing a lot of things. You're always working, and we just appreciate you for all that you do for our people. When I say our people, I'm not just talking about the alopecia community, but I'm talking about the human race, our people, for the helping to make sure that our voices are heard. And we appreciate you and we celebrate you. So before we get started, for the people who don't know, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, before I do any of that, I just have to give credit where credit is due, because as you said, you wear many hats, and you recognize the responsibility that comes along with that. But, you know, I just want to applaud you, because these are responsibilities that you have taken on that you didn't have to. You know, you could just be living your life, which is already demanding enough as it is. But as I said in my alopecia reveal, you know, I believe that we're here not just to take up space, which I want everyone to fully and authentically do that, take up space, but to create it. And Jamie, you are doing that in so many ways. And I'll just say that, especially during the pandemic, you know, I have found you to be a source of strength and really an emotional lifeline and refuge in many ways. So I don't know if you know that you speak life into people at a time where we're just experiencing such unprecedented hurt. And we can get more into it later, but I would say, living with alopecia during the pandemic and wearing masks, particularly if your alopecia walk is to not wear a cranial prosthetic, to not wear a wig, you know, it has been hard. You know, we've seen a real spike in anxiety and depression and you know, mental health challenges in the pandemic anyway. But I think for those in this alopecia walk, there have been some unique things like mask wearing that have exacerbated that. So, you know, thank you for creating community. Thank you for creating a safe place. Thank you for being a lifeline, a beacon of light, and refuge for us. So, you know, technically, you know, I am a congresswoman, but I hope you'll at least address me as your sister, Congresswoman. uh, so what do I do? Currently, I serve in the United States House of Representatives. I represent the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District, which is, for those of the alopecia community that may be in the New England or Massachusetts area, I represent Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, Randolph, Everett, Chelsea, and Milton. I've been serving in Congress for 3 years. I'm the first person of color, period, to represent the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the U.S. House of Representatives. That only took 230 years. There is a professor who's since retired, who coined the phrase, she was at UMass Boston, University of Massachusetts at Boston, that when women break ceilings, they're usually referred to as glass ceilings that have been shattered. But when women of color break ceilings, especially when they're electoral, they're concrete. And I would agree. So it took 230 years to shatter that concrete ceiling. Prior to having the honor of serving in Congress, I served as a Boston City Councilor, representing the whole city of Boston for 8 years, and had the honor there as well. Although, an honor that is another sad contrast and commentary is I was the first woman of color, first Black woman to serve on that body. And that took 100 years to shatter that concrete ceiling. And then prior to that, I was an aide, on the federal level for some 16 years. But, I began doing the work of liberation, of the liberation of Black people and all marginalized people, really in utero, because my mother, may she rest in peace and power, was very civically engaged. She was a super voter. She was a community builder. She was a community activist. I participated in my first protest march at the age of 3 months old. I worked on my first campaign at the age of 10. So, my mother made sure I knew that to be Black is a beautiful thing and something that I should be proud of, but that I was being born into a struggle. Mm-hmm. And she had an expectation that I would do my part in that struggle. So, I'd like to think that I am, especially during these unprecedented times for our country. So.
Wow. Thank you, Sister Congresswoman.
Okay.
I do like that, because you are my sister.
Thank you.
You are my Congresswoman, and I just so appreciate.
Claim me. Thank you.
Yes, we claim you. So yeah. we're gonna jump right in, because I know you're busy and you have a lot of things that you could be doing. So I just don't want to take up too much of your time. But what I want to do is ask you, can you remember what was going on in your life when you noticed your hair was shedding or falling out? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Sure. Okay, so I had been wearing my hair in Senegalese twists for a while, and had an incredible braider with growing hands. My hair had been growing a lot, and for the most part was long, healthy. And she noticed a couple of spots. Shout out to Chenille at Princess's Hair Salon in Dorchester. So she noticed some spots, but it wasn't anything that she said was alopecia. We thought it was just that I had not given my hair a break. I had gone from having my natural hair unprocessed, unrelaxed, braided, and wearing extensions, and transitioned into these twists. And my hair really wasn't, breathing. I was never just wearing my natural hair. And so, we were sort of setting up a plan where I was going to do that. And that in itself, just the thought of that was an adjustment, because I am in public life, and, I embraced my natural hair, but I had not, worn it publicly, and really loved this protective Senegalese twist hairstyle. It felt the most in alignment with how I wanted to show up in the world. And in fact, when I first got these Senegalese twists to go on vacation with my husband and decided to keep them, a lot of aunties to me said, this is not appropriate. This is not, professional, which is a story we'll talk about later. That's why we introduced the Crown Act, because, Black women do experience a fair amount of discrimination in the workplace for just how we show up in the world, wearing our hair naturally, wearing protective hairstyles, wearing locks. And so, but I loved these twists. So I had kept them as a city councilor. I made the decision to run for Congress, and was told the same thing. You can't keep these twists, but I kept them. And that representation meant a lot to a lot of people. In fact, little girls had T-shirts that said, "My Congresswoman wears braids, rocks a black leather jacket, and a bold red lip." And many people wouldn't. That sounds like you, right, Jamie?
Yes.
Wouldn't have thought that profile fits the position of Congresswoman. So they thought it was disruptive and very bold, just how I was showing up in the world with those Senegalese twists. So anyway, another braider, when I went to get my hair redone here in Washington, not my usual braider, noticed a spot, and then my hair started shedding. So that was, I guess a year and a half ago. It was during impeachment, the first impeachment, and within a 5-week period. So I went to a shout out to Dr. Yolanda Lindsay, a Black dermatologist. I went to see her, was officially diagnosed with alopecia areata at that point. And so this was around Thanksgiving. And by January 2nd or 3rd, it had gone from areata to totalis. It was Thanksgiving, and I remember just doing all the things that we have been taught as little Black girls. I made sure my shower cap was on tight. I wore a silk bonnet. I had a silk pillowcase. I wrapped my hair at night. I was using Haitian castor oil, every type of remedy and thing. I hadn't started injections. And I would dread waking up in the morning because when I would remove my bonnet, with my bonnet would come just, clumps of hair. And it got to the point where I was so self-conscious because someone could literally just bump me and a braid would fall, to the ground. And so I was carrying this and all the anxiety of trying to conceal it while existing in public life, doing interviews, being photographed, just being in the world. And then on the eve of the impeachment vote of our then occupant of the Oval Office, Donald Trump, at about 11 o'clock at night, it just all came out. And, it was the same day as what would have been my mom's. It was my mom's heavenly birthday, her 72nd heavenly birthday. And, after all those weeks, Jamie, of just the anxiety of trying to conceal this, honestly, when I first saw myself in the mirror, I just thanked my mom because it was her heavenly birthday. It was just grace. I just felt immediate acceptance. And I just felt immediately acceptance. And then I remember getting in the shower for the first time in my life and not having to put a shower cap on. And just how freeing and liberating. That was incredible to feel the water just on my scalp and not have to worry about it. But the next day was this very important vote, which would be very high profile. I was expected to do a lot of media. And, everything that women do and everything Black women do is interpreted as political, including how we wear our hair. And so there was a fear that if I showed up to work with this bald head the day of an impeachment vote, that people would think I was making some sort of political or radical statement. And so for that reason, my dear sister friend, Angela Rye, connected me to an incredible stylist and salon in DC, Lamage in the city, Jamal. And he fit me for a custom wig at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So imagine I'm here in DC away from my family, because we're away from our families 5 days a week to be here. So my family's back in Boston. I'm here. It's 11 o'clock at night. I've gone completely bald. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was fit with a custom wig. And 2 hours later, walked into Congress. And although I was completely covered up, I had never felt more naked or more vulnerable, or a greater sense of shame,
Mm.
like my body was betraying me. And so I decided in that moment that it was not going to be that much longer before I revealed what I was living with, because for me, showing up in a wig did not feel an authentic expression of where I was in my journey. And so that's when that decision was made, that day.
Wow. Sister Congresswoman, that I feel you. I understand the the feeling of not recognizing yourself in the mirror. I understand feeling not like yourself. I cannot even imagine having the responsibilities that you have and having to mask what was really going on in your life dealing with alopecia. I know what it's like to go to bed and wake up the next morning and find more bald spots. I know what it's like to just walk around in shame and fear. And so I just commend you. I commend you because it takes a special kind of strength to show up in your true, authentic self, just as a normal person, someone living a day-to-day life, but to be in a position of leadership, to add a layer of responsibility on top of dealing with alopecia.
That's gener-
It's
that's
mm,
generous of you to say, but and I do want to just acknowledge the what is it, the psychosocial sort of impacts of this, which are often really underestimated. People will often say, well, it's not like you're fighting for your life. And that's true. I'm not battling up something, a terminal illness or anything like that. But there's no hierarchy of hurt. And I think we should hold space for whatever burdens people are carrying, whether they're autoimmune diseases or terminal illnesses. I think everyone is walking around, Jamie, sort of carrying little fractures in their being. And they meet people along the way that either compound those fractures into hard breaks or that put them on a pathway to healing. And, what you're doing with Bald Life, um, you are helping people to, instead of those little fractures of, of shame and isolation and depression and social stigma, cultural stigma, judgment, you're putting people on a pathway to healing so that whatever their alopecia walk looks like, that they can stand in it proudly and keep your head up, you know? And that has, so much to do with the space and the platforms that you've created. And, you say you can't imagine, but I know your story and you were in the industry, so here you were, in beauty, in hair, carrying this, talk about feeling as if you're leading a double life,
mm,
and that you're in some sort of contradiction. And, and I would just say for the children living with alopecia, I mean, the incredible strength they show every day in the face of just ridicule and bullying. Our men living with alopecia have their struggles as well. But I would say to be a bald woman is especially disruptive. It just challenges people's conventional cultural norms about what is pretty, what is feminine, what is professional, what is appropriate. And so just showing up in the world is disruptive. And, losing all my hair and then in short order, my eyebrows, my eyelashes. I mean, I just felt, and this is very common in our community to say, but I felt like an alien. I mean, I just did not think I looked human. And I could not be in a fetal position mourning my hair or my prior self because people were depending on me to stand in the gap about a number of very serious issues then and still. Back in Boston a week or so ago, I had members of the NAF local alopecia sort of support group and chapter. A bunch of us got together and we broke bread. And I just cried openly because I had not been able to be in community, because here I was living with this, and then it was the pandemic. And, so I had never just sat at a table and been in a room and seen myself reflected back and been able to, just talk in that shorthand about, what this is like. And it was so fortifying and so, so rewarding. And now I'm excited to go to conferences. And, I think I had been so focused, Jamie, on what I had lost, being very triggered by old images of me that, I see on Google or in the media or things like that, that I underestimated what I was gaining because I had been so focused on the loss. And I have gained a community. I have gained strength, perspective I never would have had. My pastor had said to me, your territory is only going to be enlarged. And at the time, I did not really understand that. But I came to understand it, which is why I said in that video that ultimately, went viral, which we never could have anticipated that. When I was recording that, I said to my one of the members on my team, what if we do this and no one cares, And so it was incredible, the outpouring from throughout the globe and from the community of people saying, welcome, and we're here, and we look forward to connecting with you. And we know this will be challenging and, will be hard, but you are not alone. Yes. And the fact that there are 7 million people that are living with alopecia in some form, errata or universalis, what I have, or traction alopecia, or the various forms. And, some dermatologists told me recently that after my video, people were coming into their office with still shots from the video saying, is this what I have? So it did for people who were experiencing symptoms and not aware, it did prompt them to seek medical attention and a diagnosis. And then for people like yourself who have already been in this walk, I came to realize that the representation meant a lot to a lot of people. So I don't know, Jamie, did you see that video? Is that how you first found out? How did you first connect to me?
Actually, I did see the video. I saw the whole reveal and I was blown away. I was blown away. So yes, that's how I initially found out that you were, living with the same condition as I was. So that was an amazing video. And it was hard. I know it was hard for you just to reveal yourself and to be open on that platform. So
Jamie, can I tell you something? I just want to say, I have to, look, my comms director at the time, dynamic young Afro-Latina woman, when I made the decision to do this, she said, we have to do this with the root. And they were definitely the right vessel for this, okay? And the producer of that has gone on to win some awards for that. But what I didn't know in that moment, because it was a sacred space, and there were a lot of tears while I was recording that, Jamie, that she was also living with alopecia. And after the video came out, then she came out, and it was just, I don't know, the universe aligned. We never could have known that. So.
And see, Sister Congresswoman, that's why it's so important that we share our stories, because we never know who's living and dealing with the same condition as we are. Our stories are not our stories. Our stories are for someone else. So had you not shared your story, she would have never came out. I mean, she might have come out, but she might not have come out as soon and may not have felt as comfortable without you telling your story. So, oh my gosh, that's just amazing. I wanna ask you, you've been doing so much work, being just walking onto the Senate floor for the first time, as your true authentic self, rocking your crown, like you said, not being able to be in the room amongst people that look like you. You shared that. So there's so much I want to talk to you about, but
yeah, that's okay.
Can you share with us what was the most challenging part of this journey? I mean, when you think about it, what was challenging? Was it the mental fight? Was it just being in the eyes of the public? What has been the most challenging part living with this alopecia?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say you gave me a promotion. I'm not in the Senate. Um,
The
I'm
House
not
of Representatives, I'm
I'm in
sorry.
the House of Representatives, so you gave me a promotion. I'm not sure, how to feel about that, but thank you, I guess. But
Sorry.
yeah, so I'm, in the House of Representatives. Um, yeah, I mean, I felt resolved,
Hmm.
but I felt conspicuous. I felt, the thing about, I think it's a balance of both feeling very conspicuous and obvious in a way that is disruptive, um, in a way that you don't always want to be, while also feeling a conflated sense of invisibility,
Mm,
which is, very like, I mean, the experience of being a Black woman.
yes.
In some ways, we are living with this balance of both hyper visibility in a way that people often reject and do find disruptive, or hyper invisibility, where we don't feel that our experiences, our humanity is
Yeah.
being centered. And so sorry, y'all, this the sun is just the light is just, work
You're
doing
fine.
something here today. Um, but yeah, so I felt resolved. So I can't say I felt, wildly uncomfortable, because I already had a peace and an acceptance about it. Um, but I just knew that I was still adjusting. One of the parts that's I find frustrating is that people offer a lot of unsolicited medical advice. They don't know what your situation is, what's going on. So people would either assume that I shave my head, which I don't. I mean, I'm not bald because I'm trying to make a statement. I'm bald
Hmm.
because I have alopecia universalis. I know many people with alopecia areata do shave their head. Mine is just shiny. It came out just clean, just like that.
Yes.
Eyebrows, eyelashes, everything. Um, but the assumptions people make, the unsolicited medical advice, and then I would say for people very well meaning and certainly, older, they're just like, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel judged, if you're experiencing bullying, which I do, just yesterday people were on, I mean, my staff tells me stay out of the mentions, stay out of the comments, but it is painful when people, um, challenge my gender, or, you know, um, refer to me as human appendages, or call me an alien or whatever. I mean, I'm 47 years old. I'm a whole adjusted grown woman.
Okay.
And, there have been days where I just said, I don't even know that I want to go and be out in the world, because just feeling so conspicuous. And one of the reasons why at this time, I've decided not to wear a wig, and it could change, you never say never, is that I just felt resentful that I needed to put on so much in order to navigate the world in a way that was socially acceptable for other people. And so that's why I knew it wasn't for me. If I was wearing a wig because that's my style and that's
Hmm.
how I want to show up and express, myself, that would be one thing. But I was really wearing the wig to make it to be me more comfortable and socially acceptable to other people. It was not for me.
Mm.
So that's why I had to stop it. But again, I'm not here just to take up space. I'm here to create it. And so, just as you said, you've assumed all of these titles and different hats, and you take that responsibility seriously. I take the responsibility of this representation of being a bald woman, of living with alopecia universalis. And that's why, in my role in Congress, I have been able to advance research funding within the congressional House budget, to better understand autoimmune disease, specifically alopecia. We just don't know enough about it. It's also why next week, before we close out Alopecia Areata Awareness Month, I'll be reintroducing my bill with Congressman Jim McGovern. Jim McGovern is a Massachusetts congressman as well, a dear friend of mine. And this is a bill for cranial prosthetics for wigs, medical wigs, to be covered under insurance, by Medicaid. This is cost prohibitive for many.
Yes.
And we know that employment discrimination is real, social stigma is real, and that people don't appreciate the psychological toll and impact. If you think about breast cancer, many years ago, breast reconstruction surgery was not covered by insurance because insurers saw it as cosmetic. But because people kept telling their stories and coming forward, they came to appreciate the assault that this felt on the femininity and the womanhood of many women, the discrimination they experienced in the workplace, the depression they experienced because they felt like less of a woman. And so for those reasons, after enough advocacy, now breast reconstruction is covered under insurance. And so it is my hope that people will come to understand that this is not just hair, that the impacts of traumatic hair loss is more than just cosmetic. And for those that do want to wear wigs so that they are not experiencing discrimination in the workplace, to make it easier with which to socially navigate, or because that's just feels like the most authentic expression of them. These things should be covered. And then finally, again, using my platform and the power of my office, I'm a lead co-sponsor for the Crown Act, which really just means that, Black women should be able to show up in the workplace and in the world exactly as you are, wearing your hair in locks and afro, bald, protective hairstyles, weave, whatever it is that you want to do, and that you should not be experiencing workplace discrimination. And some of the statistics were damning for Black women who know they weren't promoted or they weren't hired based on how they were wearing their hairstyle. And so now, in the same way that we have other forms of discrimination that are banned in the workplace, someone can't deny you based upon gender or race. They can't deny you or discriminate against you because of your hair. That would be a crime. And if you felt that you were violated in that way, you would have a recourse with which to pursue justice. And so that's the Crown Act.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much for all the work to make this happen. I mean, I'm really lost for words because I know what it feels like to go to work and to feel like you're being discriminated against. I've had people actually touch my bald head. I worked at a department store at one time in my career, and just the looks and the comments, I understand that. So thank you so much for fighting for us. And
Jamie, I do want to say this, that discrimination is not, and the Crown Act covers this, is not only in the workplace, it's what our girls experience in their learning communities, in schools as well, which has contributed to the school to confinement pathway. We have girls who have lost classroom time and been kicked out because their hairstyles, the schools said that it violated dress code and hair code policies and things like that. So, because they found their natural kinks or their coils ghetto or ugly or unprofessional or distracting. If you do a Google search right now of unprofessional hairstyles, every image that comes up will be a Black woman. You just try it when we get off of this. So we passed the Crown Act last Congress. It's long overdue legislation that would ban race-based discrimination, hair discrimination, and then take a bold step towards affirming the right for all of us to show up in the world as our full and authentic selves. So again, the bill passed in the House last Congress, but was held up in the Senate. So, we're making strides. we're making strides, and I hope folks will feel encouraged by that. But look, I like I said, I seek to do the work of liberation, and a critical component of that is people being able to show up in the world and to navigate it without fear, showing up as their full and authentic selves.
Yes, 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 yes. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. We're going to shift gears
Okay.
a little bit, and I want to talk about the magazine.
Yeah.
I want to talk. Let's talk about
The magazine, because let me see. The magazine has good lighting. Let's see. Okay.
have mine up too.
Yeah. Excellent.
So, Sister Congresswoman,
Yes.
tell me and tell us, how did you feel when you saw yourself on the cover, and how do you think this magazine is going to make a positive impact in society at large?
Oh my goodness.
Just give us, just talk
Amy,
to us.
didn't you post the video of the little girl seeing the magazine?
I did, but
posted that. I mean, so listen, it's a powerful thing. I said when I sat at a table with a bunch of people that I saw myself reflected in, I cried openly because I felt like I was home. I felt safe. I felt beautiful, So I know that's what it is doing for so many people. And it's also very educational. I've been sharing it with colleagues, and, they've been reading it and pouring through the pages. And so they're learning about traumatic hair loss in various forms, but specifically where alopecia is concerned. And, whenever you can educate people, I think that helps to foster greater understanding and empathy and sensitivities. So I think for those of us living with alopecia, or however are showing up in the world bald, it is empowering. It is empowering. It feels like home, feels like community. That representation is a very big deal. When I first saw it, honestly, I thought immediately about how would my mom feel. I just mostly because my mom transitioned after a long battle with cancer about 11 years ago. She was only 63, and I'm an only child. And I've often wondered if she would prefer that I wear a wig. But when I saw this, I said, I think she would really, feel good about it. I think, she would feel proud. And it's so well done. I mean, Jamie, we all have the same number of hours in the day, but you are certainly maximizing yours more than anyone else. I have no idea how you do all the things that you do. And it's a very big deal because you're a visionary, because you're always founding something. You're always establishing something, starting something. Everybody wants to be a part of something when it's already up and running. And many people have visions and grand ideas, but can't execute on them. And so I have no idea how you've managed to squeeze 40 hours of work and living into a 24-hour day, but somehow you've managed to do it. And this is an incredible testament. And you know what else I can tell? It's a labor of love for you. And you can feel that in the DNA of the pages. It is just so well done, so well produced, so inclusive, so representative. It's powerful.
well,
Yeah, it's powerful. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it touches my heart that you were able to know my heart and feel the passion simply from looking at the magazine and reading it. And I just thank you so much. I thank you for saying yes to be on the cover. I thank you for saying yes, for sharing your story in the magazine. And I just thank you.
I love reading all those stories. The only thing I'm going to ask about you is you need to start putting a little thing about where your clothes are from. That's the only thing about you. Miss Fashionista over here. We just want a little thing that just says, okay, let me tell you who my earrings are by. Let me tell you who this jewelry is by. Let me tell you about my outfit today. We promise, not to try to copy you exactly, but give us the deets, give us the details.
And I will.
We want to know that lip. We want to know all of that. We want to know.
I'm going to give all the deets. And I'm telling you, the magazine is just going to get better. It's going to grow. And I'm, this is so great. This is so
And let
great.
me tell you, now I'm going to try this later because my dear sister who serves in Congress with me, Ilhan Omar, out of Minnesota, Representative Ilhan Omar, she wears a hijab. She's Muslim. And she gave me some beautiful wraps just today. And I said, you know what? Bald Life has a tutorial in the back. I'm hoping it will be easier than the YouTube tutorials because they ain't it. That's all I can say. Believe me, I've tried.
Oh my goodness.
So we'll see how I end up liking Rap Life. I've never seen you with a rap, Jamie. Do you like raps?
Oh yes, yes.
Okay.
I love wraps, and I usually only wear them when it's cold.
In the winter, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I usually just rock my crown, and sometimes you'll find me in a floppy hat, kind of tilted, maybe with a head wrap.
Yes.
I believe in accessorizing.
Yes.
Whatever I'm feeling, I usually try and rock it. But Sister Congresswoman, I have to give a shout out and a thank you to my team. All the things that I do, I don't do it by myself. I'm grateful to have a team that sees the vision, that helps me execute the vision, and I'm just grateful. I got a shout out to my Spanish editor, Yasmin. There's so many writers that is on the team for the Bald Life magazine. We have over 20 writers all over the world from all different genders and races. And so without them, Bald Life magazine would not be. So, as well as I know, anytime you're in leadership or you're doing anything great, you can't do it by yourself. You got to have a team. And to add to that, before I forget, I want to officially welcome you, Congresswoman, along with my co-founder, Nell Coleman. We want to welcome you into the Bald Boss movement. We want to welcome you.
What do I have to do?
You don't have to do anything.
Okay. I have red. Do you have to wear red? I have red.
Oh, you can wear red. You can wear the T-shirt.
Okay.
You are part of the movement. We want to welcome you. You have your tribe. We love you. We support you. No, we want you to know that you are not alone. Anything that we can do to help you, we are there. We are there. And I just wanted to welcome you officially to the Bald Boss movement before we forgot anything.
Thank you, y'all. Thank you. Thank you for the warm embrace.
Yes.
And I've so enjoyed sitting at this virtual table with you. Although I look forward to coming back sometime in the next year, where I will not have these blinds in this sun competing with me. I don't know what's going on here. I need to let you know that I can pull it all the way together like you. Okay?
Of course you can.
You can't tell that in this sunlight. You can't appreciate these cheekbones.
Yes, I can.
You can't see this lip.
I can.
You can't see these microbladed brows. I mean, this lighting is just giving me so many problems. But
that's okay. That's okay.
But next time, I do want to say that though. Shout out to Tori from Dollface in Boston. Having my brows microbladed changed my life. Shout out to all the artists doing permanent beauty makeup. It is to be living with this, a transformation not of your choosing. It gives you back some self-agency. And I just did not appreciate how important eyebrows were until I didn't have them. I said, oh, okay, this is a real thing. They really do frame and determine your face. And I mean, I have to ask people, please stop running pictures before I had my brows bladed and I was drawing them on because they weren't it. Okay. It was a struggle. I'm telling you. I was having to tell my team, like, listen, I'm running late. I'm still trying to put eyebrows on and make them balanced and, anyway. But so shout out to your village, that makes Bald Life possible. Shout out to the Bald Boss movement. Shout out to the, bald is universal. So for whatever reason you're showing up in the world bald, lots of love. And then, you know, that's just my little special shout out to those in the beauty industry, you know, doing permanent makeup and really restoring some self-esteem.
Yes.
And you know, feelings of normalcy for
Mhm.
so many of us. So thanks.
And thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for all the work that you did to get the Crown Out Act into place. And just thank you for everything. And so I don't want to keep you any longer. You already said that you'll be coming back within the next year. And
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you to it, but I do know that you
Okay,
are a woman of
February
your
is my
word.
birthday. Let me come back for Aquarius season. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
it's done.
that Aquarius energy.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Sounds like a plan. We're going to make
Okay.
it happen. And again, thank you for everything. And we look forward to working alongside you as well. And I just want to encourage everybody to go out and get the magazine so you can read the stories and
Yes,
read.
get the magazine, and you know, we'll be getting information to Jamie about those two bills, both the Crown Act and also our bill to have medical wigs covered under insurance. You know, we would love folks, you know, support and reaching out to their representatives to make sure that, again, we're doing the work to make it easier for people to show up as their full and authentic selves. So thank you for the embrace. I love you all so very much. Yes, yes. I love and appreciate you all so very much. And until next time.
Until next time, thank you so much, Sister Congresswoman, and everyone. Thank you for joining us. Remember to share this video, tag us, send us an email, go to baldlifemagazine.com, follow us on our Instagram and Facebook page, and please remember to support our sister, Queen, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Okay, so you guys have a good day, and we will talk to you and see you soon. Bye, Congresswoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.